The new girl Emma thought she could slip under the radar, but the bullies at Lincoln High smelled weakness. In the cafeteria, Jake, the ringleader, yanked her hair and mocked. "What's the matter? Gonna cry?" The crowd roared with laughter until Emma's eyes went ice cold. She gave him one warning. "Let go." He sneered, his final mistake. In a flash, she snapped his arm, the sickening crack silencing the room. Jake collapsed screaming, his gang frozen in fear. Emma didn't gloat, didn't speak. She just stood tall, radiating quiet power. And in that instant, everyone knew, the quiet ones are the most dangerous. Emma, a quiet girl from the outskirts of Lincoln High, had always felt like an outsider. The bullies at school were quick to label her as weak and unrefined, but she refused to let them define who she was. In her mind, strength came in different forms than they understood, and it wasn't until she found herself caught up in a dangerous game of revenge that she began to realize the true power she possessed. As Emma walked into the crowded cafeteria for lunch, Jake, one of the ringleaders among the bullies, stood tall before her. "What's the matter, girl?" he asked with a grin, his eyes piercing through her armor of silence. The crowd roared in laughter, and Emma felt their jeers and whispers echo throughout the room. But instead of crumbling under the pressure, she took a deep breath and raised her hand to Jake's face. "Let me tell you something," she said firmly, her voice shaking with determination. "You're no match for what I'm capable of." Jake sneered at her, but there was something in his eyes that betrayed his fear. He knew he couldn't win against Emma now, and the stakes were high. The new girl had already proven herself to be a force to be reckoned with, and she wasn't going to back down. In a flash of pain, Jake's arm snapped off at her hand, causing him to collapse in front of his friends and allies. The rest of the gang froze in fear as they watched Emma stand tall, their hearts pounding with adrenaline. They couldn't believe what had just happened. Someone so quiet was capable of such a powerful display. Emma didn't gloat or show any sign of weakness. Instead, she simply stood there for several moments, her eyes locking onto Jake's face. As the fear washed over him, Emma felt a strange connection to this ruthless leader who once thought he could silence her with his taunts and laughter. "Jake," she said softly, breaking the tension that had built up between them, "I won't let you win tonight." With those words, Emma lunged towards Jake's side, snatching him by the arm in a desperate bid to control his anger and prevent him from attacking her again. But it was too late. He swung his fist with all of his might, sending Emma flying across the cafeteria floor. As she landed hard on the ground, Emma felt a searing pain run down her wrist. She knew that this would be the start of a dangerous game that threatened to consume them both. The new girl had taken control now, and it was up to Jake, or anyone else in his gang, to stop her before they became the next victim. But as she lay there on the floor, battered but alive, Emma realized something even more profound. The silence of those who are truly dangerous is a deafening roar. It's not just about brute force. It's also about quiet strength and determination that can overcome even the most formidable foes. With newfound courage in her heart, Emma stood up, determined to use this moment as an opportunity for change. She knew that she couldn't let the bullies at Lincoln High define who she was or what kind of person she could be. Instead, she would stand tall and show them just how powerful she truly is, no matter the consequences. And so, in that fateful cafeteria lunch scene, Emma discovered her true strength as a fierce warrior on behalf of justice. With each subsequent confrontation against Jake's gang, she proved once again that silence was not an option when it came to standing up for what was right. And even though she would face many more challenges and setbacks along the way, from schoolyard bullies to corrupt adults in high places, Emma knew that her silent strength alone had the power to shape a better future for herself and those around her. /I'm_1 The new girl Emma thought she could slip under the radar, but the bullies at Lincoln High smelled weakness. 2. Deafening roar. It's not just about brute force, it's also about quiet strength and determination that can overcome even the most formidable foes. Where we left off. Asterisk in a busy lunchroom at Lincoln High, Emma sat alone in her chair, feeling overwhelmed by the sights and sounds around her. She had always been a quiet girl, known for her introverted nature, but never truly afraid of anything. As she waited for her food to be served, she couldn't help but notice that Jake's gang had set up shop at the school's lunch counter. Asterisk the other students were preoccupied with their own meals or talking nonstop about various topics. Emma watched in silence as they ate and laughed around them, feeling invisible and alone. However, something inside her wasn't right. She couldn't shake off the sense of unease that had settled over her lately, a feeling like she was being followed by someone. Asterisk as Jake's gang started to taunt her for not joining their lunch line. Emma felt a surge of anger and determination wash over her. With gritted teeth, she stood up from her chair, determined to use this moment as an opportunity for change. She knew that she couldn't let the bullies at Lincoln High define who she was or what kind of person she could be. 3. You're just like them, one member sneered, pointing his finger towards Jake's gang's leader, a muscular boy with short hair and a menacing grin. Emma felt her face flush as she tried to keep her cool, but couldn't help but feel threatened by their words. 4. However, as the rest of the lunchroom erupted into chaos around them, Emma realized that silence wasn't an option when it came to standing up for what was right. She turned on her heel and walked towards Jake's gang's leader, a tall, intimidating figure with piercing blue eyes and a scar above his left eyebrow. 5. Why are you here? She asked harshly, her voice shaking but still firm. 6. The boy chuckled wickedly before sneering at Emma again. You're not so invincible, are you? We know where to find you when we need you. 7. Emma stood her ground, determined to prove them wrong. She took a deep breath and replied, I can handle myself. I won't let this bullies dictate my life or how I live it. 8. The others in the lunchroom watched as Emma's defiance caught their attention. They were stunned by her bravery and resilience, but also impressed by the way she refused to back down. 9. As they continued taunting Emma further, Jake's gang hesitated for a moment before launching another attack on her. But instead of retreating or backing off, Emma stood tall and faced them head-on with a fierce determination that would leave them in awe. 10. With each punch she landed, Emma felt the fear rise within her, but also a surge of confidence as she proved to herself that silence was not an option when it came to standing up for what was right. She fought back harder than they expected, using all of her newfound strength and courage to take them down. 11. In one brutal blow, Jake's gang fell to the ground, their leader struggling to escape from Emma's grasp as he tried to flee. The other members of the lunchroom watched in horror as the bully who had once threatened them was now a powerless figure on the ground, defeated by the fierce warriors standing before her. 12. As the dust settled and the school staff arrived at the scene, they couldn't help but notice Emma's bravery and resilience. She had stood up for herself against her bullies without resorting to violence or aggression, instead using quiet strength and determination to defend what was right. 13. The lunchroom cleared itself of the chaos that followed their encounter with Jake's gang, leaving only a sense of respect and admiration in its wake. Emma had proven once again that silence wasn't an option when it came to standing up for justice, no matter how formidable opponents may seem or where they originated. 14. With newfound courage in her heart and the knowledge that she could face any challenge head-on, Emma knew that there were countless battles ahead of her, but with this silent strength as a guide, She would be unstoppable on her quest to create a better future for herself and those around her. Int. Lincoln High School. Lunchroom. The school bell rings, signaling the end of another day at Lincoln High School. Emma enters the crowded lunchroom and finds herself surrounded by her classmates, their eyes fixed on Jake's gang. They are all gathered around a table, laughing and eating loudly, with Jake himself standing tall at one corner. Emma, to hers. LF, I can't believe they've finally caught up to me again. My heart is pounding in my chest as the lunch bell rings for another round of chattering and dining. Suddenly, Jake breaks the silence by pointing a finger towards Emma and his friends. Hey there, Emma. He grins with an evil grin. I heard you're new around here. Emma, defensive. Oh no, Jake. Please stop. I'm just trying to enjoy my lunch. Jake leans in closer, studying her as if she were a prized possession. Sure thing, little miss, he says, his voice dripping with malice. What brings you and your new friends here today? Emma, calmly. I was sitting down by the window when I noticed something suspicious happening on campus earlier. Jake raises an eyebrow skeptically, but doesn't seem to question her directly. Like what exactly? He asks, his voice rising in pitch as if daring Emma to back up her claim with evidence. Emma takes a deep breath and leans forward. Well, she begins slowly. I was just sitting here when I saw some of the bullies from my old school walk by. Jake's eyes widen in shock. Your old school? He asks, his tone rising even higher as if daring Emma to name one specific group or individual. Emma nods determinedly. Yes, they were bullying me back then, she says softly, her voice barely above a whisper. They called me names and made threats towards me, but I refused to let them win. Jake's eyes narrowing in anger. And what about today? You're defending these same bullies here. Emma nods firmly. Yes, Jake, they are the ones who started it all by threatening my friend Emily. She was walking home from school when she was approached by one of their members, and they began bullying her. Jake's face twists in anger as he looks at Emma with a cold gaze. That sounds ridiculous, he says simply. Emma takes a step forward, holding up her hands to shield the lunch table behind her. I know it doesn't seem fair, she continues, but I have no choice but to do what is right and stand up for those who are being bullied. Jake raises an eyebrow skeptically once again. And how exactly did you protect Emily? Emma takes a deep breath and looks into his eyes directly. Well, she says slowly, I happened upon her when we were walking home from school that day, and I knew that she was going to be in danger if they continued to harass her. Jake's expression twists once again as he listens intently. And what did you do? Emma leans back slightly, placing a hand on the table. I stood up for Emily right there, she says softly, gesturing towards Jake and his gang. They were outnumbered, but I didn't back down. Jake's eyes narrowing in anger, and he raises an eyebrow as if daring Emma to continue. And how did you manage to defend her without resorting to violence? Emma takes a deep breath before answering hesitantly. I told the bullies that Emily had been approached by their member earlier in the day, and they were scared of getting caught. I explained to them what was happening on campus, including your presence there as well. Jake's eyes glaze over with amusement. So you're telling me that you just stood up for her because she was afraid? Emma nods firmly. Yes, she says softly. I couldn't let those bullies continue to intimidate my friend. I had no choice but to do what was right and protect her. Suddenly, Jake's face twists into a smirk as he leans back in his chair once more. You're an interesting little girl, he mutters under his breath. Emma looks up at him with a determined expression on her face. I won't let them get away with this, she says firmly. Emily is the most important person to me, and I'll do whatever it takes to make sure that she's safe. Jake's eyes widen in surprise as he watches Emma stand tall before him. You're not going to stop until those bullies are brought down, he asks skeptically. Emma nods firmly. I won't, she says confidently. And neither will the school administrators or any other authority figure who stands up for what is right. Jake's face twists into a cold, hard stare as if daring Emma to back down. But before he can respond, Jake turns and exits the lunchroom without another word. Emma takes a deep breath of relief, feeling grateful that she had stood up for Emily just in time. She knew that there were countless battles ahead of her on this journey towards creating a better future for herself and those around her. But with this silent strength as a guide, nothing was impossible. The global outline. The new girl, Emma, feels vulnerable at Lincoln High after being bullied by the school bullies. As she stands tall and confident in her resolve to protect Emily, Jake enters the lunchroom with a determined expression on his face. Despite Jake's skepticism, Emma is undeterred in her mission to make sure that the bullies are brought down. She believes that it's not enough to simply report them. They need to be held accountable and punished for their actions. The school administrators and any other authority figure who stand up for what is right are also on board, supporting Emma's efforts to create a safer environment for everyone at Lincoln High. As the story unfolds, Emma faces numerous challenges and obstacles along her journey. She must navigate through high-stakes situations involving both local law enforcement and school officials, all while maintaining her determination to protect Emily from harm. Along with Jake, she also encounters other characters who help her on this mission. These include friends, family members, and even a former teacher turned vigilante who has come to the aid of those in need. Through it all, Emma learns valuable lessons about courage, strength, and perseverance as she fights for what is right. She discovers that standing up against bullies is not just about defeating them. It's also about being true to oneself, even when faced with adversity. Where we left off, the scene shifts back to the lunchroom, where Emma stands tall before Jake. He watches her intently as she addresses him directly. "You're right," he says, his voice low and firm. "I should have been more cautious in my response earlier. But I can't let these bullies get away with what they've done to Emily." Emma's expression turns serious. "We need to take a step further," she says firmly. "The school administrators are aware of the situation and will do everything possible to bring down the bullies, but it won't be enough if we don't have your support as well." Jake nods in agreement, his eyes shining with determination. "I'm ready to help you," he declares. "But first, I need more information about the incidents that led up to this situation. Can you provide me with some details on who was involved and what exactly happened?" Emma smiles triumphantly. "Sure thing, Jake," she says. "Let's take a closer look at the events leading up to the bullying episode." As Emma and Jake delve deeper into the investigation, they discover that Emily had been targeted by several of the school bullies for weeks now. They started with her best friend, Sarah, who became increasingly aggressive towards Emily over time due to a series of conflicts between them. The other victims include two students named Ben and Alex, both classmates at Lincoln High. Emma realizes that there is more than just one motive behind these incidents. There may be deeper connections or hidden motives for the bully's behavior. She begins investigating through interviews with witnesses, surveillance footage, and anonymous tip-offs to uncover any clues that could help her unravel the mystery. One of the key players in this case is a former Lincoln High student named Jake. He had been suspended from school due to his involvement in a recent fight against a rival team during gym class. Despite being expelled for breaking school rules, Jake remains an unlikely ally and witness to some of Emily's most harrowing encounters with the bullies. During their investigation, Emma learns that Jake has turned into a vigilante, using his street smarts and criminal skills to protect those in need. He is known throughout Lincoln High as the Watchman, and he has formed a close-knit group of friends who have also become allies in their mission against the bullies. As they gather more information about Emily's situation, Emma realizes that she must take her role in protecting her friend from harm to a whole new level. She decides to team up with Jake and his vigilante gang, leveraging their combined skills and resources to bring down the entire school bullying community once and for all. The story takes an unexpected turn as Emma discovers that the bullies are planning a massive coordinated attack on Emily's upcoming graduation ceremony. They have convinced some of her classmates to join them in staging the heist, hoping to distract authorities while they execute their plan to steal Emily's valuable possession, a rare antique necklace that holds great sentimental value. With Jake and his group by her side, Emma realizes that she must find a way to stop this elaborate plan before it's too late. She enlists the help of local law enforcement agencies, as well as some sympathetic parents who have come forward with their own concerns about Emily's safety. As the days turn into weeks, Emma and Jake work tirelessly on planning and executing their ultimate showdown against the bullies. They use a combination of intelligence gathering, surveillance, and physical prowess to gather enough evidence to take down each member of the gang one by one. In a thrilling climax, Emma confronts several of the bullies in an intense battle that ends with them all being apprehended at gunpoint. The police arrive on scene just as they execute their plan, resulting in the successful recovery of Emily's necklace and a significant reduction in school bullying incidents throughout Lincoln High. With this major victory under her belt, Emma returns to Lincoln High feeling hailed by both students and teachers alike for her bravery and dedication in protecting Emily from harm. The bullies are now held accountable for their actions, and the school community is left shaken but with renewed hope for a brighter future. As they sit down together at a local coffee shop, Emma reflects on the journey she has taken so far and the lessons that have been learned along the way. She knows that there will be more challenges ahead, but with her unwavering determination and newfound allies by her side, nothing is impossible. The new girl Emma has become is not just an individual in a fight for justice. She is a symbol of hope and unity, inspiring others to stand up against bullies and work towards creating a safer world for all. The new girl Emma had always known that she was different from the other girls in Lincoln High. Growing up, her parents were strict and taught her to put her safety first, never allowing anyone to harm her or others around her. However, as a sophomore, Emma began experiencing something rare, fear for her own safety. She started feeling anxious about walking alone at night, avoiding crowded places with potential bullies, and constantly being aware of the possible dangers that lurked in every corner. One day, while on the school bus returning home from Lincoln High, everything changed when she was approached by two boys who seemed to be following her closely. They were older than Emma, around 16 or 17 years old, with dark hair and piercing eyes. At first, Emma didn't recognize them as bullies because they had never been a part of the school's bullying culture. As they got closer, Emma realized that these boys were not following her out of curiosity, but rather to harm her in some way. They grabbed onto her coat by the collar and pulled her down towards their parked car outside the high school. Before she could react, the two bullies reached for a knife on the dashboard and began threatening her. Emma tried to fight back with all her might, trying to break free from them as they surrounded her. However, the boys were too quick for her, and before she knew it, one of them had grabbed hold of her hair and twisted around her neck tightly. The other boy stepped forward, brandishing a knife at Emma's throat. The noise that followed was deafening, screams, curses, and panicked cries filling the air as the two bullies struggled to overpower each other in this moment. Emma felt like she was trapped in a nightmare, unable to escape from their grasp or find any safety anywhere around her. Just when it seemed like all hope had been lost, a group of students walking by heard the commotion and rushed over to help. They quickly assessed the situation and realized that they needed to intervene before anything more serious happened. One student, Emily, recognized Emma as the girl who was being bullied at Lincoln High and knew she needed to step in immediately. She bravely approached the bullies, attempting to calm them down with soothing words and offering her help. The two bullies were momentarily stunned by Emily's sudden presence, but quickly regained their composure. One of them turned around to face Emma, his expression twisted into a cold, calculating gaze that sent shivers down Emma's spine. "You think you can just walk away from us? We'll hurt you." The boy growled menacingly before lunging forward with the knife in hand. Emily stood her ground, determined not to let this fear consume her. She reached out for the other bully's shoulders and firmly planted them on the ground, drawing their attention back to Emma. "Get away from me, or I'll defend myself," she threatened as she raised her own fist towards the boy's face. The two bullies hesitated for a moment before reluctantly backing down, but not without making some violent gestures of their own. One boy lunged forward with his knife at Emily again, while another tried to grab Emma around the neck and force her into submission. But this time, instead of giving in, Emma stood tall, gritting her teeth and refusing to let them intimidate her or harm anyone else who might be nearby. She raised her hand towards one of the bullies, pointing him out with a determined finger. "I'm not afraid," she said firmly, her voice shaking but still steady as she spoke. "I've been through this before, remember? I know what it's like to feel helpless and vulnerable." The other boy hesitated for another moment before finally backing away from Emma, his eyes narrowing in frustration and anger at the girl who stood up for herself. As soon as he moved back, Emily quickly grabbed onto her necklace and held it tightly against her chest. She knew that this was a small victory, but she couldn't let their reaction convince her to give up on fighting against bullies. "Are you ready?" Emma asked the two bullies, addressing them directly without looking away from Emily's face. The boy who had lunged forward hesitated for a moment before nodding in agreement. "We know what we're getting into," he said gruffly as he stood up and walked back towards the car. Emily stepped behind him, her eyes fixed on Emma as she watched them disappear inside their vehicle. The police arrived just moments later, sirens blaring in the distance, and they quickly apprehended both boys in question. The incident at Lincoln High had been caught on camera by a group of students who were walking past, capturing the fear and bravery that drove Emily to take action. They uploaded the footage to social media, causing an immediate stir among the school community and beyond. The video showed Emma standing up for herself against bullies, earning widespread praise from both teachers and peers. In the weeks following the incident, Emma became a symbol of hope and unity in Lincoln High. Her bravery inspired countless students to speak out about their own experiences with bullying and encouraged them to stand together as allies to those who were facing similar challenges. The police thanked her for her role in bringing justice to these boys, but they also emphasized that it was not just Emma's actions that had made a difference. The school community worked tirelessly to create a safer environment for all students. As Emma returned to Lincoln High with a newfound sense of purpose and determination, she knew that there would be more challenges ahead, but she felt confident in her ability to overcome them, knowing that she was part of something bigger than herself, a movement towards a brighter future where kindness and empathy could triumph over fear and hatred. The new girl Emma had become is not just an individual who fought for justice. She is a symbol of hope and unity, inspiring others to stand up against bullies and work towards creating a safer world for all. And though the road ahead may be long and difficult, with her unwavering determination and newfound allies by her side, nothing is impossible. The new girl Emma had always been an outsider at Lincoln High. She didn't fit in with the cool kids or the popular crowd. and she struggled to make friends due to her tendency to speak out against injustice. But things changed when a group of bullies began targeting her for bullying and encouraging them to stand together as allies to those who were facing similar challenges. The school was small and tight-knit, but it had its own set of problems that the new girl couldn't ignore. The principal's office seemed like an echo chamber where only students with privilege and power could speak their minds without fear of consequences. And when Emma started speaking out against a teacher who was mistreating her peers, she got caught in a crossfire. The bullies began to bully Emma more aggressively, spreading rumors about her and making it clear that they were not going to let anyone stand up for them. But as the days passed, something clicked inside of Emma. She realized that if she didn't take action against these bullies, they would continue to torment others in a cycle of fear and aggression. So, with no hesitation, Emma decided to speak out against the bullying once again. It wasn't easy, not when her own life was constantly threatened by these bullies. But she knew that it was the right thing to do, and as she stood up for herself, she saw others around her doing the same. The school community rallied behind Emma's cause, and soon enough, they were speaking out against the bullying in a more collective manner. The principal himself came to her defense when he heard about what had been happening at Lincoln High. He listened intently as Emma shared her story with him, expressing how these bullies had made it difficult for her to feel safe and respected. The school's administration worked together to create a plan to address the bullying problem. They established strict rules against harassment and discrimination in all aspects of school life, including locker rooms and classrooms. The school also provided counseling services for those who were affected by the bullying, offering support and resources to help them heal from their experiences. As Emma continued her activism efforts, she gained a deeper understanding of the root causes of the bullying problem at Lincoln High. She realized that it wasn't just about individual students. It was about systemic issues such as lack of access to education, poverty, and social inequality. And so, with this knowledge in mind, she began advocating for change on a larger scale. She organized a series of meetings with local community leaders, discussing the importance of addressing these underlying issues and working together to create a more equitable society. She also started speaking at school assemblies about the power of compassion and empathy, inspiring students to understand that they had the ability to make a difference in their own lives and communities. And slowly but surely, Emma's efforts began to pay off. The bullying incidents decreased, and her peers began to feel more comfortable around her. Some even reached out to her for support themselves. Some were bullied because of their race or gender, while others felt scared about being alone at school. Emma had become a symbol of hope and unity in Lincoln High, inspiring countless students to stand up against bullies and work towards creating a safer world for all. She had proven that even the most resistant individuals can be empowered by compassion and empathy, and it was only through collective action and determination that change could truly occur. And as she looked out over the school's bustling hallways, Emma knew that there would always be more challenges ahead. But with her unwavering courage and newfound allies by her side, nothing is impossible. She had become a force for good in Lincoln High, a beacon of hope and resilience against adversity. And even though the road ahead may be long and difficult, she felt confident in her ability to overcome them, knowing that she was part of something bigger than herself, a movement towards a brighter future where kindness and empathy could triumph over fear and hatred. In the heart of Lincoln High, a new girl named Emma had been introduced to the school's vibrant community. As a minority student with a deep passion for activism and an unwavering commitment to social justice, she was quickly embraced by her peers as a symbol of hope and unity in the face of adversity. The bullies at Lincoln High were notorious for their racism and sexism, targeting Emma based on her skin color and gender identity. Some students felt scared about being alone at school, while others struggled with feelings of isolation and loneliness. Despite these challenges, Emma refused to let them define who she was or limit her potential. Over the years, Emma had become a force for good in Lincoln High, inspiring countless students to stand up against bullies and work towards creating a safer world for all. Her unwavering courage and empathy had earned her an unlikely ally in Jack, a classmate with a rare form of autism who often struggled socially. As their friendship deepened, Emma recognized that the only way to truly impact change was by building bridges between different groups. One day, as they were walking home from school, Jack suddenly stopped and turned to Emma, his eyes filled with concern. "Emma," he said softly, "I don't want you to feel alone in this." With a nod of her head, Emma knew that she had to take action. She shared her own struggles with Jack, sharing the stories of other students who were also facing similar challenges. From there, a movement began at Lincoln High. Students from all walks of life came together to support each other and fight against discrimination. They organized rallies, wrote letters to school administrators, and even spoke out in public forums about the importance of standing up for what was right. As Emma led this effort, she also started incorporating Jack into her activism work. Together, they worked tirelessly on campaigns that aimed at promoting inclusivity and equality within Lincoln High's community. They organized workshops and seminars for students to learn how to identify and challenge discriminatory behavior, as well as creating safe spaces where people could come together and share their experiences. Through these efforts, the school began to shift its culture away from fear and hate towards empathy and compassion. Students began to view each other more as equals than just members of a particular group, recognizing that everyone has value and deserves respect. Emma became an advocate for marginalized communities, speaking out against policies and practices that perpetuated discrimination. But the road ahead was not without challenges. Some students were resistant to change and saw Jack's activism efforts as unnecessary or even dangerous. They accused him of being a troublemaker who could distract from their own work. Despite these criticisms, Emma remained steadfast in her commitment to creating a safer world for all. She understood that true progress often came at great personal risk, but she refused to let fear hold her back. Instead, she used her voice and influence to inspire others to join the fight against injustice, knowing that each small step was an essential part of building a more just and equitable society. As the school year drew to a close, Emma stood on the platform of Lincoln High's auditorium, addressing the graduating class with a powerful message. "Friends," she said, "we have faced many challenges this past year, but we've come together as one, standing against discrimination and inequality in all its forms. Through our activism efforts and unwavering commitment to each other, we have created a school where everyone feels valued and respected." With that, Emma raised her hand and announced the names of the classmate who had inspired her most, Jack. "Jack," she said with pride, "you've been an ally in my fight against discrimination for as long as I can remember. And while it may seem like a small victory, know that your efforts have made a big difference." The room erupted into applause, and Emma felt tears streaming down her face. She had accomplished something truly remarkable. She had built a community of allies who were willing to stand up against hate and inequality for the sake of creating a better world. With each step forward, Emma knew that there would always be more challenges ahead. But with her unwavering courage, empathy, and determination, she was ready to face whatever came next. She had become a force for good in Lincoln High, a beacon of hope and resilience against adversity. inspiring countless students to work towards creating a brighter future where kindness and compassion could triumph over fear and hatred. As the final bell rang out that day, Emma took a deep breath and stepped away from the stage, knowing that she was leaving behind not just a school but a movement. She would continue her journey as an advocate for social justice in all its forms, inspiring others to join the fight against discrimination and inequality so that together we can create a world where everyone feels valued, respected, and included. And with that, Emma turned around, looking out over the bustling hallways of Lincoln High once more. She knew that there would always be more challenges ahead, but she was ready for them, because in her heart, she believed that nothing could hold her back from becoming an unstoppable force for good in this world. 1. The new girl, Emma, thought she could slip under the radar, but the bullies at Lincoln High sensed her vulnerability. 2. Unwavering courage, empathy, and determination fueled her unwavering fight for social justice in a town known as The Haven. 3. As an incoming student from a wealthy family, Emma faced intense scrutiny from both inside and outside of school. She was eager to make a positive impact on the lives of those around her. 4. However, she soon discovered that not everyone viewed her with open eyes, especially in her new community where racial tensions were high due to past traumas and prejudice. 5. Emma's journey began when she stumbled upon an unlikely ally, a charismatic student named Jack, who shared her passion for creating a more inclusive school environment. 6. Despite their backgrounds being vastly different, Jack coming from a diverse African-American family while Emma was from a privileged white household, they quickly formed a deep bond over their mutual commitment to justice and equality. 7. As the school year progressed, Jack became an unwavering advocate for marginalized communities, often leading protests against discriminatory practices or advocating for students of color who had been overlooked in academic or extracurricular opportunities due to systemic racism. 8. Emma watched as Jack's passion transformed into a fierce commitment to activism, inspiring her and others at Lincoln High to take action on the issue. They organized rallies and workshops, educating fellow students about the importance of standing up for their rights and challenging oppressive beliefs. 9. In addition to fighting against discrimination, Emma also worked tirelessly towards fostering a more welcoming campus culture by organizing events that celebrated diversity and promoting inclusivity. 10. One such event was an annual cultural festival, which showcased the vibrant art and music traditions from various African American communities in Lincoln High. It not only provided students with opportunities to experience different cultures, but also served as a platform for them to learn about their shared experiences and histories. 11. As attendance grew at this festival over time, it became evident that people were beginning to take notice of Emma's efforts and begin to question the status quo in Lincoln High. The school administration initially dismissed her initiatives, labeling them insensitive or divisive. 12. However, Emma refused to be silenced, knowing that silence only perpetuated the cycle of marginalization and discrimination she had aimed to dismantle. 13. In a daring move, Emma decided to stage an open dialogue with the school administration, presenting her plan for a more inclusive curriculum, extracurricular activities, and student council representation based on diversity. 14. The conversation was tense, but ultimately successful as several administrators listened attentively to Emma's perspective and expressed their commitment to addressing the issues facing Lincoln High in a fair and equitable manner. 15. With renewed support from school officials, Emma led a team of students towards creating an inclusive curriculum that incorporated diverse perspectives, histories, and experiences. They also worked on implementing new policies around student council representation, ensuring that marginalized voices were heard and represented more equitably within the administrative structure. 16. As progress was made, several key stakeholders at Lincoln High began to recognize the need for a true change in their educational approach. A groundbreaking agreement was signed between Emma's organization and school administrators, resulting in the implementation of new curriculum guidelines and extracurricular programs that celebrated diversity, inclusivity, and empathy. 17. The school became an even more welcoming environment where students from all backgrounds felt valued, respected, and included. Empathy replaced fear as a guiding principle, and conversations about race, gender, sexuality, and other aspects of identity were transformed into opportunities for growth and understanding. 18. As the new year approached, Emma couldn't help but feel proud of what she had achieved so far, not only in advocating against discrimination, but also fostering an inclusive school culture that celebrated diversity. 19. In a symbolic gesture to her community's newfound sense of unity, Emma organized a series of events throughout the school year, including cultural festivals, guest speakers, and performances by diverse artists from across Lincoln High. 20. These initiatives not only brought joy and excitement to students, but also served as a platform for them to share their stories, experiences, and perspectives with one another. The inclusive atmosphere created within Lincoln High became an inspiration to others, inspiring countless individuals to follow in Emma's footsteps and strive towards creating a more equitable world. 21. As the year drew to a close, Emma reflected on her journey thus far and looked forward to continuing her commitment to social justice in all its forms. With a renewed sense of purpose and determination, she knew that there was no limit to what she could accomplish as an advocate for marginalized communities, empowering others to stand up against discrimination and create lasting change. 22. As the final bell rang out that day at Lincoln High, Emma took one last look around the bustling hallways once more, feeling grateful for all that had been accomplished in this incredible journey. She knew that she was leaving behind not just a school, but an inspiring movement, a testament to her unwavering courage and empathy, and a beacon of hope and resilience against adversity. Title: Breaking the Silence. The sun was setting behind Lincoln High, casting a warm golden glow over the school's sprawling campus. Emma had just finished her final day of classes at the prestigious high school, feeling grateful for another successful academic year that taught her about herself and the world around her. As she made her way back home to her small apartment in the heart of downtown Lincoln, her mind was occupied with a mix of emotions: joy from accomplishing so much, pride in her achievements, sadness at leaving behind friends and mentors who had been instrumental in shaping her journey. She couldn't help but think about the impact that Lincoln High had on not only herself, but also countless others. The school's inclusive environment fostered an atmosphere where students could freely share their experiences, perspectives, and beliefs with one another, creating a space for growth, learning, and self-discovery. It was this sense of community that inspired Emma to pursue her passion for social justice and use her voice to make a difference in the lives of those around her. One day, as she walked through Lincoln High's courtyard, she came across a group of students gathered around a poster on the wall. The posters bore slogans promoting equality, diversity, and inclusion, emphasizing that every individual deserves respect, dignity, and opportunities regardless of their race, gender, sexual orientation, or socioeconomic background. Emma had noticed this movement from her classes earlier in the year when they organized a panel discussion featuring students with diverse backgrounds sharing their stories about discrimination and inequality. The posters caught her attention, piquing her curiosity, as she decided to approach them one by one to learn more about their experiences. She approached the first poster that read, "We stand for equality, diversity, and inclusion because we believe every person has a right to live with dignity and respect in this world." Emma was struck by its boldness and simplicity. It seemed like something she could easily share with others. The student who took up her hand shared his experience of being bullied at Lincoln High. He had been targeted for his sexuality, often referred to as queer, which caused him immense discomfort and fear. The bullying never stopped until he reached a breaking point when he decided to take action against the bullies in front of their peers. He talked about how seeing other students standing up against injustice gave him hope that one day they could create a safer, more inclusive environment for all students, regardless of their background or identity. He encouraged Emma and others to speak out against bullying, share their stories, and support each other's resilience. Emma was inspired by the students' courage and determination to stand up for his rights and the bravery of those around him in supporting them. She decided to take action as well, sharing her own experiences with a group of students who shared similar struggles. As Emma spoke about how Lincoln High had impacted her life, she noticed that many other students were listening intently, eager to learn more about what was happening on campus and the impact it had made in their communities. They asked questions, expressed interest in participating in activism efforts, or simply wanted to support one another's journeys towards social justice. The group started a Facebook page called Lincoln High for Equality, where they shared articles, stories of resistance against discrimination, and resources for students who wish to get involved with local organizations working on these issues. They also organized events such as panel discussions, workshops, and educational sessions that aimed at raising awareness about the importance of diversity and inclusion. As time went by, Lincoln High for Equality grew into a powerful movement, attracting more voices from all walks of life who shared their own experiences with discrimination and inequality. The group became known not just for its activism, but also as a source of inspiration and support for those seeking to create change in their communities. One day, Emma received an invitation from the local chapter of Gladys Lee Advocacy and Education Alliance, which was working on issues related to LGBTQ+ rights. She accepted this opportunity to present her findings about Lincoln High's inclusive environment at a conference hosted by the organization. As she walked onto the stage, Emma felt a sense of pride and accomplishment as she presented her research on how students from marginalized communities had created an atmosphere that fostered empathy, respect, and understanding among peers. She shared stories of individuals who had been bullied or discriminated against, but ultimately found strength in their resilience to overcome adversity. Emma's words resonated with the audience, and they listened intently as she spoke about the importance of creating a safe space for all students, regardless of their identities. The conference was filled with tears, applause, and renewed hope that Lincoln High had indeed broken the silence around discrimination and inequality and sparked conversations that would continue to shape its future. After the conference, Emma returned home feeling both inspired and humbled by her experiences at Lincoln High. She knew that she couldn't have achieved everything on her own, but was grateful for the opportunities given to her by this community of students who had shown unwavering courage in standing up against injustice and creating a more equitable world. In conclusion, the Breaking Silence story highlights how a small act of defiance can create a ripple effect that transforms lives and inspires others to fight for change. Emma's journey from a new girl at Lincoln High to an advocate for social justice shows the power of community building, shared experiences, and collective action in creating lasting impact on individuals and society as a whole. As she continued her work towards achieving this goal, Emma remained committed to standing up against discrimination and inequality, inspiring others to join her in making their voices heard and fighting for a world where every individual is valued, respected, and treated with dignity. The new girl Emma had always felt like an outsider at Lincoln High, the school that was known for its reputation of discrimination and inequality. Despite her efforts to fit in, she found herself constantly surrounded by a sea of bullies who made fun of her appearance, spoke behind her back, and whispered about rumors of her family background. However, despite these challenges, Emma refused to let them define her identity or limit her potential. One day, while sitting alone at lunch during one of the school's social events, Emma stumbled upon a group of students who were discussing their experiences with discrimination and inequality. They talked openly about how they had been bullied by teachers, classmates, and even administration for simply being different from them. The conversation sparked a fire within Emma, as she realized that these issues weren't just limited to Lincoln High, but affected countless other schools across the country. As more students at Lincoln High joined the discussion, Emma began sharing her own experiences of discrimination and inequality with them. She talked about how she had grown up in an immigrant family who struggled financially and had faced numerous challenges growing up. Despite these obstacles, Emma always felt like an outsider because of her accent and appearance, which made it difficult for others to understand or relate to her. One day, during a class discussion on social justice issues, the students noticed that Emma was sitting quietly at the back of the room without speaking up. They approached her and asked if she had any thoughts about what they were discussing. Emma hesitated at first, but then spoke up with courage, sharing how these experiences had influenced her perspective on equality. I see firsthand how discrimination affects not just marginalized communities like mine, but all walks of life, Emma said. We're taught to keep our opinions quiet and avoid challenging the status quo, even when it's clearly wrong. The students listened intently as Emma spoke, feeling a sense of admiration for her courage and resilience in speaking out against injustice. They realized that they had been silent because we often prioritize maintaining social harmony over standing up for what is right. One student named Sam shared his own experiences with discrimination at school when he was bullied by another student who thought he wasn't smart enough to keep up with the work of other students. I remember feeling so embarrassed and ashamed, Sam said, tears streaming down his face. But it didn't help that I felt like an outcast because I couldn't match their intelligence or achievements. Emma listened intently as Sam shared his story and realized that she had been in a similar situation. She could see the pain and frustration on his face and knew firsthand how difficult it was to navigate such discrimination. The students then brainstormed ways to address these issues at Lincoln High, coming up with ideas for workshops, assemblies, or student-led campaigns to raise awareness about discrimination and inequality. They encouraged Emma to lead one of their initiatives, which would involve organizing a panel discussion on social justice issues. Emma agreed to take on the role of facilitator, knowing that it would be a challenging task, but also an opportunity to make a real difference in her community. She began reaching out to teachers, administrators, and students from different backgrounds who were interested in participating in the forum. As the day approached, Emma was nervous about speaking before such a large audience. But as she prepared for the discussion, she felt more confident than ever. The room filled with eager participants, each bringing their own perspectives on discrimination and inequality. As they began to share their stories, Emma listened intently, feeling moved by the raw emotion of the conversations. One student named Sarah spoke about how her experience with bullying had led her to become an advocate for mental health awareness. She talked about the importance of recognizing that not everyone experiences depression or anxiety, but rather various forms of emotional distress. We need to break down stigmas and recognize that seeking help is an essential part of recovery, Sarah said, emphasizing the crucial role of support systems in addressing these issues. Another student named Alex shared his experience with discrimination at school when he was excluded from a class for not conforming to gender stereotypes. He talked about how it had made him feel like an outsider and how he felt pressure to fit into certain roles that didn't align with who he truly was as a person. I wish we could have more understanding and acceptance around gender identities, where everyone is valued regardless of their appearance, Alex said. Emma listened intently, feeling moved by the powerful messages being shared in the room. As they continued discussing various forms of discrimination, Emma realized that it wasn't enough to simply address individual cases, but also needed a systemic change. I think we need to work towards creating safe and inclusive spaces for all students, regardless of their background, she said. That means addressing institutional barriers like lack of funding or resources for mental health services, ensuring equal access to education opportunities, and promoting diversity in our classrooms. The students nodded in agreement as Emma spoke, feeling inspired by her passion for social justice and determination to make a positive impact on the world around them. As the forum came to an end, Emma felt energized by the conversations they had just facilitated. She knew that it wouldn't be easy work, but also excited about the potential of their collective efforts to create lasting change in Lincoln High and beyond. I've never been more motivated than when I saw the students' commitment to creating a safe and inclusive community for all, Emma said, feeling grateful for the opportunity to use her voice and inspire others along the way. Together, we can make a difference and help break down barriers that keep marginalized communities from achieving their full potential. As she left the room, Emma couldn't shake off the sense of pride she felt in leading this group of students towards making positive changes in their school and beyond. She knew that the work they had done would continue to inspire others for years to come, as they continued to stand up against discrimination and inequality and fight for a world where every individual is valued, respected, and treated with dignity. The breaking silence story continues as Emma returns home feeling both inspired and humbled by her experiences at Lincoln High. She knew that she couldn't have achieved everything on her own, but was grateful for the opportunities given to her by this community of students who had shown unwavering courage in standing up against injustice and creating a more equitable world. As she prepared for dinner, Emma reflected on the conversations they had just facilitated during one of their school events. She realized that it wasn't enough to simply address individual cases, but also needed a systemic change, such as addressing institutional barriers like lack of funding or resources for mental health services, ensuring equal access to education opportunities, and promoting diversity in our classrooms. She knew that she would continue working towards creating safe and inclusive spaces for all students, regardless of their background, and would take her passion for social justice into the world beyond. As Emma prepared for bed that night, she felt a sense of hope wash over her as she imagined the impact she could have on the lives of countless others who were facing discrimination and inequality. The next day, Emma woke up feeling energized by her thoughts about the progress they had made so far towards creating change in Lincoln High. She knew that it wouldn't be easy work, but also excited about the potential of their collective efforts to make a positive impact on the world around them. She spent the morning reaching out to teachers, administrators, and students from different backgrounds who were interested in participating in the forum they had organized earlier. Emma was thrilled to see such enthusiasm among these individuals and knew that she needed to continue her work towards creating a safe and inclusive community for all students. As the day approached, Emma prepared for the panel discussion on social justice issues at Lincoln High. She gathered a diverse group of students from different backgrounds who would be participating in the forum, each bringing their own perspectives on discrimination and inequality. The room was filled with eager participants, some of whom were familiar faces from previous events like workshops or assemblies. Others had never been involved in such discussions before, but were interested by what Emma planned to do next. Emma began her presentation by highlighting the importance of recognizing that not everyone experiences depression or anxiety, but rather various forms of emotional distress. She shared personal stories about how she herself has struggled with mental health issues and encouraged students to understand that seeking help is an essential part of recovery. She then went on to discuss the role of institutional barriers like lack of funding or resources for mental health services in preventing marginalized communities from accessing these services, leading them to feel trapped and isolated. Emma emphasized that it was crucial to ensure equal access to education opportunities for all students, regardless of their background, which would help break down stereotypes and promote diversity. Finally, she touched on the importance of promoting diversity in our classrooms by encouraging students to embrace different cultures, religions, and backgrounds. She shared stories about how these differences can enrich our communities and create a more inclusive world. Emma listened intently as each student spoke, feeling inspired by their perspectives and ideas. As they continued discussing various forms of discrimination, Emma realized that it wasn't enough to simply address individual cases, but also needed a systemic change. I think we need to work towards creating safe and inclusive spaces for all students, regardless of their background, she said. That means addressing institutional barriers like lack of funding or resources for mental health services, ensuring equal access to education opportunities, and promoting diversity in our classrooms. The panel discussion came to. The new girl Emma thought she could slip under the radar, but the bullies at Lincoln High. GH smelled weakness. As she walked past their locker room, her heart raced with anxiety. She knew they were watching, waiting for an opportunity to catch and target her. But Emma had always been confident in herself, even when faced with adversity. As she entered school, Emma scanned the crowded halls, trying to blend in among her classmates without drawing too much attention. However, something about the atmosphere felt off. The students seemed more distant than usual, their eyes darting around and avoiding any interactions that might reveal their identity. One boy in particular caught Emma's eye. He stood at a desk near one of the school's most popular girls, chatting with a group of friends. Emma couldn't help but feel intrigued by his confidence and charisma. She decided to approach him after class to see if she could learn more about what was going on behind closed doors. As they continued their conversation, Emma felt her guard down even further. The boy seemed so comfortable in his own skin that he didn't seem fazed by the attention. "Hey there," Emma said, approaching the group of friends with a smile. "What are you guys up to?" The boy turned around and looked at her curiously. "Hi, Emma," he replied. "I'm just hanging out with some friends from our drama club." Emma's heart skipped a beat as she realized that this was not a normal conversation for two high school students. The drama club was notorious for its wild parties and rebellious behavior, often associated with drug use and violence. "I see you're involved in the drama club," Emma said, trying to hide her curiosity behind a smile. "What's all about it?" The boy hesitated before answering. "Well, we've been working on a new play that's due for production next month. It's based on a true story and aims to raise awareness about mental health issues in marginalized communities." Emma listened intently as the boy spoke, her mind racing with questions. She had never heard of a play like this before, let alone one centered around mental health. "What specifically are you working on?" Emma asked, feeling more curious than ever. The boy hesitated again, but finally opened up about his struggles with anxiety and depression. He talked about how he used to feel overwhelmed by the pressure to fit in and succeed at school, often skipping classes or isolating himself from others. However, through therapy and support groups, he slowly began to overcome these issues and find a sense of normalcy. "I'm glad you found it helpful," Emma said, feeling impressed with his courage. "It's not easy to talk about mental health openly in high school." The boy smiled at her and replied, "Yeah, I know what you mean. But we can't keep living our lives hidden away from the world just because of our struggles. By sharing our stories and raising awareness, we hope that others can learn from our experiences and find ways to overcome their own challenges." Emma nodded thoughtfully, feeling inspired by the boy's words. She knew she had a lot to learn about mental health in marginalized communities, but also felt grateful for the chance to connect with someone who understood what they were going through. As Emma left the drama club that day, she couldn't help but feel motivated to take action and make a difference. She decided to reach out to school counselors and community organizations to see if there were any resources or programs available to support students from marginalized backgrounds in addressing mental health issues. Over the next few weeks, Emma started attending meetings with these groups and sharing her own experiences with them. She talked about how she had struggled with depression as a child, but found solace through therapy and supportive communities. She also shared stories of other students who had faced similar challenges and worked together to overcome their struggles. Through these conversations, Emma learned more about the systemic barriers that marginalized communities face when it comes to accessing mental health services. Many schools lack funding for mental health programs or do not offer adequate resources in areas like counseling and support groups. This can create a vicious cycle where students from marginalized backgrounds feel isolated and hopeless, leading them to seek out less supportive environments. Emma also heard about the importance of promoting diversity in our classrooms by encouraging students to embrace different cultures, religions, and backgrounds. NDS. She shared stories about how these differences can enrich our communities and create a more inclusive world. Emma listened intently as each student spoke, feeling inspired by their perspectives and ideas. One day, while speaking with one of her classmates who had recently moved to the school from another country, Emma realized that promoting diversity in classrooms was not just about inclusion, but also about empathy and understanding. She explained how cultural differences can lead to misunderstandings and conflicts, making it important for teachers to be aware of their own biases and learn about different cultures before teaching. "Sometimes we assume what others are like based on our limited experiences," Emma said, "but everyone has a unique background that shapes who they are. By embracing diversity in the classroom, we can create an environment where students feel respected, valued, and celebrated for who they are." The class erupted into applause as each student shared their own perspectives and ideas about promoting diversity in classrooms. It was clear to Emma that this was not just a matter of making changes within schools, but also needed a broader cultural shift at the societal level. Emma felt motivated to take action again, determined to make a difference for marginalized communities like herself. She started by reaching out to local community organizations and advocating for increased funding for mental health programs in underserved areas. As she continued her efforts, Emma received support from within Lincoln High School and even became involved with other student groups that focused on promoting diversity and inclusion in various aspects of school life. Her passion for creating a more equitable education system motivated her to take action not just in the classroom, but also beyond. Over time, Emma's activism gained traction, leading to increased awareness about mental health issues among students, teachers, and community leaders. She organized events and workshops that brought together diverse groups to discuss various topics related to diversity, inclusion, and mental health. Through these efforts, Emma became a vocal advocate for marginalized communities, sharing her stories of resilience and hope with others around the world. Her dedication paid off when she was invited to speak at national conferences on promoting diversity in education. The experience had transformed Emma into a force for change, inspiring other students and teachers to take action against discrimination and inequality. She knew that it would not be an easy journey, but she was determined to make a difference one day. As the sun set over Lincoln High School that fateful night, Emma felt proud of herself and all the progress that had been made in addressing mental health issues among marginalized communities. As she walked back to her dorm room, exhausted from a long day's work, she knew that there was still much more to be done, but also realized that it was worth every effort. For Emma, being an advocate for marginalized communities wasn't just about fighting for justice and equality. It was about finding beauty in the struggles and learning from them. She had found her calling as a storyteller, using her words to inspire others to see beyond their own biases and work towards creating a world where everyone felt valued, respected, and heard. The experience had changed Emma's life forever, leading her on a journey of self-discovery and growth that would shape her for the rest of her days. As she lay in bed that night, exhausted but fulfilled, she knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, she was ready to face them head-on, knowing that with each step forward, she could make a difference one student at a time. /I'm_and in the heart of Lincoln High, a new girl named Emma found herself walking through her bustling dorm room with an exhausted look on her face. It was another long day at work for the school counselor, and she had been tirelessly advocating for marginalized communities by organizing workshops, speaking engagements, and even leading small group therapy sessions for students who struggled with mental health issues. One of the most important areas where Emma wanted to focus her efforts was in addressing the stigma surrounding these issues. The bullies at Lincoln High had always whispered about how weak she was due to her perceived lack of ability to stand up against them, and they were quick to label her as a troublemaker or a threat to their social status. Despite this criticism, Emma refused to let it get in the way of her passion for advocating. She believed that every marginalized individual deserved respect, regardless of how vulnerable they may seem on the surface. With each passing day, she grew more confident in her ability to make a difference and was determined to help break down these barriers. As she walked back to her dorm room after another busy week at school, Emma couldn't shake off the feeling that something felt different about this year compared to last. She had been pushing herself harder than ever before, always striving for excellence and making an impact in the lives of those around her. But now, as she lay in bed that night, exhausted but fulfilled, she knew that there was still so much more to be done. The next day at work, Emma continued to advocate tirelessly, speaking out about mental health issues not just among students, but also within the school itself. She organized a workshop for teachers and staff on how to identify and support students who were struggling with anxiety or depression, sharing valuable resources and tips that had been proven effective in helping others navigate these challenges. In addition to her work at Lincoln High, Emma was also heavily involved in community outreach initiatives aimed at bringing awareness about mental health issues. She led a group of volunteers from marginalized communities to participate in local events and organize workshops for schools, high schools, and even corporations. Through this effort, she had seen firsthand the power that art, music, and other creative outlets could have in promoting empathy, compassion, and understanding towards those who might be struggling with mental health issues. Emma knew that it wouldn't be easy to break down these barriers overnight, but she was determined to make a difference. She continued to work tirelessly on her advocacy projects, meeting with parents, community leaders, and other stakeholders to gather feedback and ideas for creating more inclusive environments where everyone felt valued and heard. As the days passed, Emma's efforts began to yield results.